Hello, hello. I am back with another book review. I read a couple of books while I was on vacation. And the second book is The Teenage Brain by Frances E. Jensen and Amy Ellis Nutt. And it was excellent. Excellent book. I highly recommend it if you have a teen, especially if you have a teenager, but also if you have a younger child and you want to get some information on how children's brains work in general. I mean, this is focused on teenagers, but it does go into like younger kids a little bit. And it gave me some insight in, I have an 8-year-old, and it gave me some insight into, how his brain works and how things are going to be changing as he gets older. And I probably will go back to this book as he gets older and refer to it and remind myself that young adults are not adults. Their brains are not fully functional, they're not fully formed. So she does a really good, she's a neuroscientist, and she does a really good job of putting in data and graphs and visual, images to, really make her point. And then she gives you anecdotes to really bring the point home in a way that just data doesn't do. So it's a really, really interesting, it makes it less dry, I guess. Like if it was just going through data and this is what the brain looks like and this is how blah blah blah, and this is she does like a basic anatomy lesson of the brain at the beginning, and gets into how the brain works and its neurons and white and gray matter and myelination and all that stuff. She gets into like how the brain works, and then the different sections of the brain, and when the different parts of the brain come online. And of course, the last part of the brain to come online is the prefrontal cortex, which is where we, basically make all of our thoughtful decisions. That's, the part of the brain that lets us plan into the future, that lets us see the consequences of what our actions might be. And basically that is non-existent in teenagers and younger children. They don't have a prefrontal cortex that is fully formed and speaking to the rest of the brain. And I like how the book is laid out. Each chapter is kind of like a different aspect of what teenagers might be involved in, and how the brain reacts to those different things. So like she talks about like learning and sleep, alcohol, drugs, how they take risks, how stress affects them differently than it affects adults. Basically what she's saying in each of these sections is that all of these things affect teenagers differently than they affect adults, and teenagers think differently about these things than adults do. And so it was really a fascinating read. It definitely made me think about the past few years and how devastating it has been for especially this age group, the preteens and teens, and just how they're so social, and they need that, their brains need that. And it really kind of scares me that the lockdowns and stuff, how they may have affected this age group in particular. I mean, it affected all of us, but this age group in particular, and because they're learning how to interact with each other and build those connections in their brains, and those connections haven't been built for a lot of people over the last few years. And so that it's been, but at the same time, she did say that, you know, brains are very resilient and they can come back. But there is a loss there, I think, that's permanent. But anyway, so that was like really like that part, the part about stress and mental illness. Those chapters really kind of made me really think about what's been going on specifically now. This book was written in 2018, so right before everything, 2018 or 2019, right before everything. 2015. Sorry. The book I'm reading now is 2018. 2015. So a few years before everything happened. So anyway, also gets into sports, concussions, crime, like all of these things. And she's never saying to like let teenagers let their brains, you know, use their not fully functional brains as an excuse to do the things that they're doing. But it's an explanation for why they act the way they do. And, you know, and at the end of each chapter, she gives a little, like, there's like a few paragraphs about how to deal with your teenagers when they're struggling with certain things or experimenting with certain things, and like how to talk to them, how to help them through it. And to be there as parents, you know, that's something that I think, you know, maybe a lot of parents kind of, you know, you're not your child's friend, you're their parent, and, you know, there's a difference there. And she gets into that a little bit. And she also talks about the difference between boys and girls, and how their brains are different, and, you know, so it's a really good read. The subtitle is The Neuroscientist's Survival Guide to Raising Adolescents and Young Adults, and yeah, I'm definitely going to return to this book, and as my son gets older, and, you know, remind myself of how to deal with the things that I think that, you know, I'm sure that he will be dealing with, because they all do. So anyway, that is my book review for today. I highly, highly recommend it. One of the best, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it a parenting book. I mean, it kind of is. I've read a lot of parenting books, and this is definitely one of the best. So check it out. If you like this video, hit the like button, share it, subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow with a new video. Bye.